Hey guys, Baxter here, coming to you from the wilds of the backyard. Today we are talking about these things, the Day 6 Evo Broadhead. This is actually the broadhead I used last year to kill my elk. Might have been the first one ever killed with one of these retail, August 31st, 2019. Actually still a little bit of blood on this arrow, believe it or not. But before we dive into that, we're gonna talk a little bit about an overview and some specs on these things, the pros and cons, what I like about them, then my experiences, and we can wrap it up by talking about a few different broadhead alternatives. All right, before we dive in too deep, what is Day 6? Day 6 is a company that operates under a direct-to-consumer model, meaning you got to buy the stuff directly from them off their website. You're not going to find these guys in any of your pro shops or down at the bow shop or Cabela's or anything like that. These are actually pretty expensive as far as broadheads. 3 for $90 or $190 for all 6 of these guys in this nice little SKB case. 1 16th inch, fairly narrow, which is phenomenal for elk. You're gonna get great penetration. S30V powder steel, we'll talk about that in a minute. 100 or 125 grain, these are 125 grain, which is my favorite. It's $33 for 3 sets of replacement blades and screws, which is a big one for backcountry hunters. And then finally, there's a few other versions. There's the Evo, which is this broadhead. There's the Evo X, which is 1 1/4 inches, a little bigger, and then the Evo XL, which are, very large, heavy, 200 grain kind of things. One of the nice benefits of these, you can actually put the Evo X blades in the standard Evo, which is this one. So I could put a 1 1/4 inch blade, screw it into this guy. It would end up being 150 instead of 125 grains, but you're good to go. So pros and cons, what do I like about these and what do I not? Number one thing is accuracy. These things are phenomenally accurate, super small little surface area on these guys. Up there with the Viper Trick for one of the most accurate broadheads I've ever tested. Take a look at this photo I put up here. Unfortunately, it's a time of coronavirus. I can't go out and test these for you guys, but it's a shot from elk hunting last fall. After 3 days, came back, first shot 80 yards, right in the dead stinking center of that thing. So very, very accurate. All right, second thing I'm a big fan of is penetration for these guys. Really important with elk. They're big, thick animals. You got to have 2 holes for blood trails and for quick, ethical deaths. These things are already 1 1/16", so they're going to penetrate like mad. But on this main blade, you can see they've very slightly curved it. And that means you're going to have a very relaxed and effectively relaxed blade angle, even though this is short front to back. So great penetration off of that. Other little details, bring in a Viper Trick for comparison here from Slick Trick. You look at the relaxed blade angle on that bleeder. Yeah, it's only 1/2 inch, but it's plenty fine. But you are gonna get phenomenal penetration. I think this won the Born and Raised Outdoors Broadhead test in terms of that. So it's definitely there. Tolerances on these things, you're paying a lot, you are getting a lot. They spin like crazy. I mean, they're perfect. This is one that already went through an elk and hit a rock, spinning perfectly. They're also right on the weight. So if you say 125 grains, you weigh these, I'm gonna get 124.9, 125.1. They're right there, which is really, really cool. A big one for backcountry hunters is the ability to replace these. So something like the Slick Trick, you shoot this into an elk or shoot and miss, you hit a rock, it just bends over that tip and you're kind of out of luck. Granted, these aren't as expensive, so you could replace it, but if you're in the backcountry, you only have so many. With these guys, when you hit something, you hit the replaceable blades. So it's really, really easy for you to simply undo that screw, bring these with you in a little packet, just throw them in your pack, drop some more in, so you can effectively have 8 broadheads even if you only bring 4 into the backcountry, that sort of thing. The other nice thing is this screw is not Torx, right? So you actually are going to be able to use your Allen key multi-tool from your bow to release this. You don't have to bring some extra thing. You're not going to forget it. Not a pain. Another thing I'm a big fan of on these is edge retention. So this is S30V powder steel. Quick background, when you're making steel, the carbides are actually the pieces that are toughest, are gonna make the cut. And when you blend up steel and you let it cool into an ingot, those little particles that are in there actually clump up and pull apart. Powder steel is a different way of doing that. They blend it all up, they spray it out of a nozzle, instantly freeze the little tiny powder particles so that carbides are perfectly distributed through the steel. They take that powder, they recompact it. Long story short, it's an ultra premium, really, really difficult and expensive to make steel. You'll see it in a lot of high-end knives. But these guys, really, really great because I'm comfortable shooting it into a target 5 or 10, 20 times, just taking it out, stropping it lightly, and then putting it right in my quiver. The ability to practice with your broadhead in the arrow the exact same way you're gonna shoot it is a huge bonus. Finally, last pro on my side of the house is that these are really quiet, right? They're not vented. They're not gonna have these little tiny cuts that are gonna make that shh noise as it runs towards an animal. Elk hunting, not as important. Axis deer hunting, really important. But it's a nice detail to have and something that's great for a broadhead that is this accurate still. All right, let's talk cons or things I don't like. I'm independent. I'm not sponsored by these guys. Number one thing I don't like is these are a little difficult to resharpen. If you're just stropping them or lightly touching up an edge, it's okay, but because of that slight curve, you can't really reprofile them on a straight edge. So a little more difficult. Not a huge deal because most guys are just gonna strop them or they're gonna completely replace the blade for $10, but something to know if you're someone that shoots a lot of animals and constantly sharpens their blades. Last con in my mind is the cost. These things, they're $90 for 3. If you're looking at a Slick Trick, which is a phenomenal blade as well, that's gonna be $40 for 3. There's a big difference. We talked about some of the reasons these are better, but there's definitely a big price differential between the two. So my experience is, how this went for me last year. Shot an elk on opening day, 35 yards. Felt confident enough to put these through like a 3 or 4 inch gap in the trees, which was awesome. Went in one side, hit a rib and deflected, kind of went down and out the other side. But as you can see there, did a phenomenal job, 80 yards. He just piled up and went down. So clearly these do just fine on elk. One thing I will say is it went through so fast, it's a 550 grain arrow, that it hit a rock on the other side. You can see some light kind of edge chipping there on the upper left, but that's after hitting a rock. It's still pretty good speed. But overall, worked very well on elk. Alternatives. What are you looking at if you're gonna buy an ultra premium head like this? Well, there's a standard solids, German kinetics, bishops, but really those are different designs. If you want something that is a replaceable blade, ultra premium head for hunting elk, it's between these and the iron wills. Some pretty big differences between the two. The iron wills are made out of a non-stainless steel A2. That's gonna have an advantage with edge retention, slightly stronger. Steel, you can heat treat a little bit better, so it's gonna be close. This is still plenty sharp after going through an elk. The other difference is the way they're designed, and that steel is gonna make them stronger. Now with these, the two differences for me and the ones that were really important are that this is a stainless steel, it's rust proof. So if I'm out backpacking and I'm walking around, getting snowed on, getting rained on, high moisture, that sort of stuff, I don't have to worry about it, or I don't have to coat it in oil, do maintenance on my broadheads. Don't want something else to do maintenance on. The second is these are optimized for penetration. Iron wills and these are gonna be really close, but these do have an edge if you look at the tests. Really for me, they're both phenomenal heads. They're both really, really close, but the rust thing is what did it. So that brings us to the final question, which is, would I buy it? Yep, already did. Spent my own hard-earned money on these things and really enjoyed them. We'll keep on using them, although I just love testing stuff, which is why I do these reviews. You're gonna see a lot of different stuff in the future. Speaking of which, these are independent, unbiased. I'm trying to do my own thing here, so what I'm saying is my own opinion. Check out baxterbowman.com. There's a lot more reviews there that don't have these videos, so you can see other stuff like this. There is a review for these as well if you want to see more photos and a lot more detail on these guys. I'm also doing a Hunt Elk in 2020 series or course. All the things that made me successful the first 3 out of 4 years I bow hunted elk. So you can go check that out as well. Finally, this is my first review, guys, so please help me out. Let me do the little thingies. I have to have 1,000 subscribers and some massive amount of hours. So like and subscribe, help me be able to put the links directly in here, not down in the details. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and there'll be more reviews soon.